Welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya, and now more than ever. I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, this week we're going to have a fun week. We've been doing themes throughout the past week, and our theme this week will be Sporting Capital Talk. We're going to celebrate our own Kenyan sporting heroes, both past and present. My guest today is exactly that. Remember way back, few of you will remember, back in the 50s when the East African Safari Rally first started. Well, my guest was basically born around the beginning of the East African Safari Rally. So he always wanted to be a rally driver. He got his dream in the 1980s when he became the first ever black African to finish the rally, the grueling Safari Rally. It was called the Marlborough Safari Rally by then. We remember the days of Joginda Singh and Shekameta. Well, my guest was the first black African to finish, and in 1990 became the first black African to win the Marlborough Safari Rally. He won it in a car called the N-Class. He'll explain that to us. And he's been an advocate of this Safari Rally. Not many people can afford to be in it. He was fortunate and he did really well, but he'd like to see the Safari Rally go to the next level. My guest today is a face that's extremely familiar. He claims he's 51 years old. He looks like he's more like 31. My guest today, the inimitable Patrick Njiru. Patrick.
Jeff.
I'm serious, man. Baby face, huh? I always call you baby face. Look at you. Take us back, Patrick. Take us back. You're growing up in the late 50s, early 60s, and you're watching this rally, either, I don't know, in the foothills of Embu or wherever you were. Were you seeing those cars? Is that what you did? You saw them and you said, I want to be that one day?
Jeff, if you talk of a dream come true, I think this is one of them. Back in the 60s, when I used to wake up very early in the morning and start watching these guys coming with the zooming cars right behind our village in Embu, we used to have the Nkopo Dhochi, which was very competitive. And they always used to bring it over Easter period, which was very, very wet time. And over all those periods, it was really such an exciting time to see all the top guys now whom we knew about, Joginda Singh, Shekameta, Bat Shankland, Ovi Anderson, then those guys.
Beyond Waldegard.
Beyond Waldegard, and all the great names that we used to have. So we used to nickname each other these names when in the village. And my name was Simba wa Kenya, Joginda Singh. That's what they used to call me, the boys back in the village, because we always used to say, I'm the one representing so and so and doing all of these. But they were great role models, big heroes for us. And the safari then was 6,000 kilometers and used to take the whole of the East African countries. We would be hearing people like Leonard Mambo broadcasting up from the air, saying that the rally now is passing through Usambara region of Tanzania. Then we come to hear about the Ruwenzori Mountains again. And, continuation of all of that. And the famous now Mount Kenya and the Meru side was the most difficult one. Right. So with all of that, back in those days, really, we used to just to imagine that one day maybe we can come and be there and be like these guys.
Did you ever think, Patrick, you would be inside a vehicle taking part in that same rally you used to watch in the villages?
I think sometimes you follow a dream, because I remember trying to create a car made of wood and trying to say this was Joginda Singh's car, which was then, those days, was the Lancer. Yeah. Lancer was the most popular car by that time. And in my way back in 1976, when I went to study in Japan, that's the first time when it came in closer to me to see that I can become a rally driver, because having come from a very poor background, I was born in a peasant's family. My father didn't even own a car. No one in the family had a car. So it was like a dream out of the whole world. But when I went to Japan for my engineering studies, I found out that cars in Japan were like toys. You could go to a circuit, roll the car today, and tomorrow you've got another one. And that's where the real enthusiasm now got in, and that went a very big way, because learning Japanese and getting myself to know the Japanese people and their way and culture, and over the period, that brought me the connection, which later on now came to determine my life. That's why I always want to tell everybody who is in here, let's history not control our future.
Excellent.
Because always there's always something good in the future.
Absolutely. Now, Patrick, when's the first time you competed in the rally?
Back in 1984, I entered the first safari in Kenya. And it was not very successful, like every amateur. We didn't go very much.
Yeah.
Now, in 1985, we struggled a little bit in the Kenya National Championship then, whereby we had a guy called Chris Davey and Gavin Bennett who came to me and said, listen, I think you can do this in preparation for 1986 Safari Rally. So what we did was a strategy. We came into what used to be called the Standard Production Championship, and he said, I think you can be able to do it. And back, for sure, in 1985, we won the group, the Standard Production Championship for the first time in Kenya as the first native African to win a Standard Production Championship or any championship of whatever kind.
Yeah.
Now, this was very crucial because after we won that championship, everybody started noticing and now started saying, oh, they can drive. Oh, these guys can drive, Nobody could believe this.
These Africans can drive.
Yeah, these Africans can drive.
Yeah.
So in 1986, there was this Mzee Kont Koseki, Noriyuki Koseki, who came up. Now we started a history. He was bringing Subarus to Kenya, and he wanted to bring Subaru rally cars to Kenya, and I was driving a Subaru in the championship. So he said that, hey, I think it is better we give one car to a local guy, and we want to give it to a local African. And at that particular time, there was nobody else. It was only me. And I remember Mike Doughty going to Japan and Nicholas Nganga. They went to Japan, and they came back. They said, listen, you are the guy who is going to be given a car to drive, and you will be supported halfway. Then the rest will be yours. We'll give you the parts and the car, but the personnel will be yours. The people who are going to come and help you. Don't forget that's the 5,000-kilometer safari. And it was so good because we concentrated, we did so well, and we finished our first safari with Gavin Bennett. Ever.
And it was the first native African to
Yes. This now opened up so many things because we got a sponsor from Total. Total came to us and gave us all the fuel we wanted. And for the first time, they kitted us. We kitted the whole team. So it was very good.
You had uniforms?
Yes, we had uniforms. Now, the following year, we were told, because you have done this, we are going to give you now a much better car. We're going to give you a Subaru Leon Turbo, which was going to be a little bit more powerful car, but a much, much, much more faster and suitable car for you to be able to drive. And this time with Rick Matthews, we partnered with Rick Matthews, and we finished in the top 10 for the first time. That was in 1988.
Oh.
The moment we did that, Jeff, I tell you, things just opened up like this. Because we found Marlboro, who was sponsoring the safari, came back and said, hey, wait a minute. We want to see these guys what they are doing. And they gave us, that particular time, $50,000 sponsorship.
That's a lot of
just
money.
To spray the car. Oh, yeah. On that particular, those days.
Yes.
They gave us $50,000 and they signed us a contract where now we were involved with people like Mark Wallen, Mickey Biason, Juha Kankkunen, all the top drivers who were there.
You had become one of them now.
Well, all of a sudden things just turned out to be very good. But then we came in and they said, no, you are not only going to fly it in the national championship, but also in the international championship. Wherever you go, you'll be a Marlboro driver. All the guys were fabulous. Wonderful.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Patrick, you must have been going, you must have realized this was meant to be.
That's the time, Jeff, because all of a sudden now things became so positive and everything started going up so well. Everything was going up positive. But above that, the only good thing I remember that I did was that Safari was in a lot of problems at that particular time. The event itself.
But politics or sponsorship?
The usual politics and the usual sponsors not wanting to come in here because, you see, Marlboro was pumping a lot of money. But they were not getting they were not selling the cigarettes here. Right. We were on the crossed side of the business. So what I did, because of the influence and the name that I had got, I used my position in a very positive way. I used the energy in a very positive way. I managed to penetrate to the government. I went to the Ministry of Commerce and the Ministry of Treasury, and they all agreed to allow them to import the cigarettes into the country. Now, not noting whatever they were importing was 0.01% of what BAT was doing at that particular time. Right. Now, that saved the safari for the next 2 years. 89, they got the authority to sponsor it. 90, they got the authority to be sponsored again. And that worked out so well. That was really very, very, very positive.
Yeah.
Now, with that, these guys and the support they were giving, I realized how heaven opens up for you all of a sudden. Because in 1990, we were given now a proper works car, like all the other works people, the team in the works.
Wow.
We got the best Group N car, we got the top helicopter service, we got the airplane communication system, because those days, it was not easy, Jeff, for communication.
I can imagine.
And it worked in just smooth, but we delivered.
Okay, Patrick, I mentioned earlier on that you were driving this Group N car.
Yes.
What does that mean?
The Group N car is the standard version of the normal car that you see on the street. If it's a Subaru Legacy, it's that standard version. Only you are allowed to change the suspensions, to modify the suspensions. Everything else is standard. The brakes you're using must be standard. The gearbox you're using must be standard. What is bought on the normal shelf. The engine you are using must be completely standard. Now, that's what used to be called Group N. Then there was the Group A. Group A version would be modified. You would be allowed to use it up to 300 bhp, while the normal car is 250 bhp. So with that, the difference was just around 30% down on power. But you can't imagine in 1990 fighting with the guys with the Group A cars, that is the Lancias, the Nissans.
Top of the line.
The top of the line.
Yes.
We were lying fifth by the end of second leg.
No.
Second leg.
What number did you take off as?
We had taken over as car number 18.
And you were lying fifth.
Fifth at the end of the second
Day
leg.
two.
In day two.
And then in the end?
In the end, we finished sixth. And that time was the FIA used to have a classification. If you come in between the top three, you win A seed. If you come in between 5, 6, and 7, 4, 5, and 6, you get B seed. I was the first, the man in Africa, not Kenya, to get a B seed from FIA.
Good Lord.
From FIA and be classified now, you are in this category.
Yeah.
Now, that brought a lot of fitina and maneno around us here because, you know, the local boys here.
Yeah, they didn't like
our
it.
usual boys. No, kawaida. You know, we were the only one, and our local boys, they were local boys, you know. It brought a lot of politics. But what kept me focused now was the way forward, not to look backward.
And also you could compete now overseas.
Exactly.
So I remember you went to Ivory Coast once.
And then I went to Australia immediately after that, after 90. And I went again to Finland, whereby, you know, the guys up there in Finland, in the Thousand Lakes, is the place where everybody needed to be. But just before even that happened, after the 1990 finishing of the World Group N, came the biggest success, that we won. The Kenya National Championship used to consist of 8 rounds of the event. We won 6 outright and became the first Group N, the first national championship, apart from Vic Preston Jr., the Shekhar Metas, the Jogindas, the Rob Collinses of this world, to come in and join them in that category.
So basically what you're saying is it wasn't a fluke that you won that other one.
No. It kept on going on, Jeff. And the moment we got that support and we got the rhythm, the whole thing just went in. And the only way was to shatter them, was to dominate. That is why it ended up I retired with 4 national titles. And all of them in a roll. In a roll to the extent that, you know, we took it like the cup in Brazil. We took the original cup, the original trophy
because
that used to be in there. We won it 3 times.
And then another time.
We took it then to buy another one which has not been won by somebody. So it's been very nice and very sweet.
Patrick, this is a fascinating story. I want to continue more of it. I want to hear about Finland, Ivory Coast, Australia, and also what Patrick Njiru is doing now and what he thinks of the rally today. My guest today, the poor boy from Embu who made his dreams come true. He went and became the biggest and the best native African rally driver this country has ever seen. And he did it because he wanted to pursue the dream. He is no doubt a local hero any way you look at it. And that's exactly what we're talking about right here on Capital Talk, only on the award-winning station K24. We are back in a moment. Welcome back to Capital Talk. We're talking to the man I affectionately call Babyface. He's 51 years old, looks barely 31. But apart from that, he is no doubt one of Kenya's greatest heroes, winning 4 major local championships, the first ever regional championship, and he's rallied around the world for the cause that he loves so much, a cause he saw growing up, rallying, a sport that not many Kenyans are involved in, but he had a dream, he pursued it, and he achieved it. My guest, the inimitable Patrick Njiru himself. So Patrick, you were saying, so after winning those 4 championships, you started traveling.
Yep. Jeff, I got myself involved in a couple of things that you cannot, very interesting. I met Nelson Mandela in 1991 when he left prison.
Yes.
Down in Soweto, because when I went to rally in South Africa, I was the first African invited by the Nissan South Africa to go and take part in a rally in South Africa.
Because there were no other Africans.
There were no other African drivers.
Yep.
They called me, and when I went there, they said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I would like to visit Nelson Mandela." I was taken to Soweto.
No.
Yeah, I went. I met Winnie. I met Nelson up in their place there.
In 91.
91 when he had just left. Around September. That was the only thing that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I wanted to, the old man and just left up there, you know, so charismatic and all of this. Then I realized what generations change. I still remember what he told me there. He said, "Forget the past, keep on moving." That's what the old man told me. Forget the past, let history not hold your destiny.
Just like him.
Yeah, just like him.
27 years in jail.
Absolutely.
And he forgot the
And
past.
I went in, I moved up, Jeff. I've met Mother Teresa. She came down at Kibera when I was running the petrol station. I gave her the next station because she runs up around there. She only gave me a rosary which I've been using for all my years, and she said, "God bless you, Patrick." When Indira Gandhi was killed, I was the last person she flagged off in India, in the Himalayan rally. A lot of history and a lot, yes. And I couldn't believe it because then our president, who was the vice president then, came to India, and we came back in the same flight. You've never seen anything, Jeff, like that. When the Sikhs were being massacred with the knives and being cut, sliced off there, we were all hiding in the same hotel, and he's the one who brought us back again. His Excellency the President, back on the same flight.
You have to write a book.
Oh,
you have to write a book. You know, generations have to read about this. You can't let this go.
You're right.
Honestly.
I mean, it's true because all of this has come up, you know, in the competing of the sport. I remember when we went to Zimbabwe and we were in Mutare, in the northern side of this, and the Mozambique guys were fighting, and we had the local guy, Bill Rottenberg, who had a big car which was backfiring like gunshots. Pop, 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 pop. And the guerrillas on the other side started firing in the air when we were over.
Because they thought it was guns.
They thought it was guns. The other guys who have come up on the other side.
No.
Yes, totally risky stuff. But part of the whole sport. And when we came back, I mean, now when I see President Mugabe doing what he's doing after he flagged us, you know, it's such a
what a shame.
Beautiful country. You know, when we lived in the Sheraton Hotel, then a dollar, Zim dollar, was equal to the normal dollar. You know, when I hear the stories, what is going on, when I hear millions and all of that, I don't believe how people change quickly. And how wonderful that country was. That south of the whole of that side, wherever we were rallying, you know,
by Vic Falls,
by
that whole route,
seeing the whole nice sections of the roads and everything, and how the situation was so good. You know, I've never seen for the first time Mzungus running kiosks. I saw it being run in Zimbabwe. They're the ones who were running the kiosks there in 1990. I'm to give you, this is 92, 1992, around that area.
Wow.
But beautiful scenario. A nice, you know, all of these part of, like the way you say, you come and find that history. You come and find how good it is. But coming back home here, where we've been involved really, and where we have been wanting to see the safari rally, the Rio Safari Rally grow and remain there, you find that they brought in some nasty politics as usual, which kicked out the safari from the World Championship.
The FIA.
The FIA, which kicked out the World, because what they're having now is what we used to call Caltex Equator Rally. It was an Equator Rally, it was a short rally, just only for the African Championship only. And it's a shame because the World Championship knew about the Safari Rally. It's something that they wanted, the scenery here, the animals, all of these suggestions which came in here were so beautiful. I mean, the people from Japan, they used to use this for marketing their cars. If our car can beat Africa, it can beat anywhere in the world.
So it was good for tourism.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is no money you could be able to spend. any advertising or anything. Even the BBC ran away from covering the safari, then to come back again. Because when they ran a poll, they said, no, we want to watch the safari rally.
Because
it's Africa. Because they had a big problem with Marlboro on the number. The number on the screen on the car because of the advertising of cigarettes.
Okay.
And they had problems with airing it on their screen.
Right.
So the BBC said, no, we are not going to cover this because, if we cover number one, we're going to advertise Marlboro. And Marlboro was so prominent because of their color scheme. And they were saying, no, minimize the numbers and put all of this. They said, no, we're not going to do that. And BBC pulled out. They had to come back again.
Because of the popularity
Because of the popularity of the event, they realized that we have to get this back. It's like soccer.
Yes.
When you see what soccer is today in Kenya, you have to give the people soccer.
Yeah.
And you cannot deny them that,
No.
Jeff. You can't.
At the same time, Patrick, and this is a very serious question, why don't we ever honor our heroes? I mean, we have so many heroes in this country, but if they're walking down the streets, most of them, 90%, will be ignored. Why is that?
Jeff, you're right, absolutely. It's a culture. I don't know where it has come from. I don't know whether, you see, the problem is that politics overruns everything. Once you're in the political establishment, you tend to forget the technocrats. And it is such a pity because you find a little girl like Tekla Orupe who has done so well.
Amazing
and
girl. Hopefully she'll be on the show later in the week.
Absolutely. I would love to see that girl. When I went to Monte Carlo, is the only Kenyan I know who has got a house in Monte Carlo.
No.
Oh yeah. She's such a beautiful girl. I mean, short as she's such a hero there.
And very focused.
Yeah. You look at Paul Terregat. When I went to Japan, I was being asked about Paul Terregat.
No.
It's nothing else. And nobody here, you come over here, nobody wants to hear about Paul Terregat.
No.
Yeah, I remember going to Moscow. I was in Moscow back in the years when Henry Rono and won 4 world titles. And I remember the Russians asking me, why you Kenyans, why you don't come to the Olympics here? And I remember the Russians telling me, an enemy's friend is an enemy. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, you Kenyans, you are friends of America. You have refused to come to here because Americans are your friends. So you are also our enemies. I said, no. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't go like that because of Henry Rono. They knew Henry Rono like they have never seen.
And Henry Rono right now is parking cars somewhere in America. A parking attendant.
I tell you, it's such a big shame for these people. But last year, the former minister, Maina Kamanda, had just started a very good thing, a very good program. All of a sudden, he went into the Ministry of Sport. He found money which was from nowhere. He started honoring sportsmen. He started giving them money. And the people who had been lying on the money, all of a sudden, were shelved off. Then, out of the blue, he didn't manage to come back again into the scenario. All of this now has gone quiet. Nobody honors anybody anymore. Now, there is no honoring from that ministry. Yeah. He started getting himself into the real people because he realized the real people who do the job are the sportsmen and women, which is the people who should be concentrated, just like football. We will keep on fighting about football as long as the players don't get their money. Because the people who get the money are the officials. Yeah. And these officials, Jeff, they've never played soccer.
No.
That's the biggest problem. The same thing with rallying, I tell you. The people controlling rallying have never sat in a steering wheel and drive a car for 240 kph, then they meet a bunch of cows and they don't know how to fly over those cows.
They have no clue.
No clue what it is all about,
Which is such a shame, Patrick.
And then they stay there. They all want to be on their, these bodies now, these days, have come in like also, FIFA gives money to the local bodies. FIA gives money to the local bodies. If you go to athletics, they give money to the local bodies. That's why you see all the infighting. Because now they have cash. They don't have to go looking for money. It's coming to them. The money is coming to them, and whatever little that it is coming to them, they want to play around with that.
And control the whole thing.
But try and put a sports bill which restricts anybody, like the way we restrict the president from running for 2 terms. Yeah. No one, it will never pass. Yeah. It will never see the order of the day.
They'll fight it forever.
They will fight it forever. They will shoot. I mean, you remember Sambu and these Titus.
Yes.
They went to the story of hitting each other on the streets and fighting down there, and you ask, for KFF?
Grown-ups.
Grown-ups. What is all this? So there must be something in store for that. Because you cannot come and be fighting for nothing. Yeah. But the way forward is to get a good team which is not involved with the sportsmen, people who have studied sports like in the university, bring these guys to come over with a policy. Make out a new policy, but don't take it to these people to go and ask them to come and make it. Because it will never happen. Yeah. It will never come out, Jeff. We'll always be seeing our own sport, our own heroes. Jeff here, when Jeff phones me up, I come running because I know this is CNN material. Yeah. You know, this is our Larry King. But nobody wants to come and realize that, you know, when Jeff talks, if Jeff talks, it is listened outside there. And the good thing about the whole of it, Jeff, is that we got to get our people to appreciate. But our media also has become so sensational that they'll bring anything that they come as long as you defend yourself.
Correct.
You know,
negative first.
Negative first.
Yes.
Yeah, and you see, we you know, in cricket we were one of the top guys, Morris.
Top.
Absolutely, guys.
Yes.
And our own media tried to play it in a very negative way here.
With their own guy.
With their own guy.
Rather than defending him.
Last night, I was watching Germany. I was watching the Deutsche Welle. They were giving an update of every 5 minutes. And they're saying our guys are still coming. The moment they realized that we are in the 92nd, they said we have closed the program. They took off. They didn't blame them. They didn't say anything. They were saying, you know, the Germans, we fight up to the end. The moment they realized things were not going to work the way they were, they switched off. You know, they keep their guys and they say they're going to be in the square today to thank the fans and do all of that. And, you know, you carry it on like that.
Rather than going negative and saying
how useless they are. Because, and you know, coming second to them is nothing. You did not, coming second to them, it doesn't mean anything.
So patriotism, Patrick, is important. Huh?
Absolutely. Because, Jeff, the most important thing that I did, and which I can recall in my time, is that by 1996, we had formed a group of African drivers. There was Jonathan Toroitich, there was Jimmy Kahumbura, there was Gregory Kibiti, there was John Ngunjiri, there was Maluki Ndetei, there was Jimmy Wahome. We formed about 8 boys. By 96, when we won all the national titles, they all went to the Africans. Then I said enough was enough. So 10 years ago, I said quit. When I won my last rally,
you walked away.
I walked away. But then, all of a sudden, in less than 2 years, everybody has disappeared.
It's that consistency, Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what went wrong was that most of them did not take the time to learn like the way we had done, the way we did. They came in there and we worked out very well because somebody like Jonathan should not have disappeared because it was not a question of money.
Correct.
That should not have happened. Somebody like Jim Kahumbura should not have disappeared. It was not a question of money. Yeah. It's a question of getting there and getting the results and getting the things in the right way and trying to develop that because that sport cannot be popular, Jeff, without an African. Without an African.
So let me ask you this, Patrick. If you were to give advice, there's some kid watching you right now saying, I want to be the next Patrick Njiru. I want to get in the back of that car and be the next big-time rally driver. I can't afford it. I don't have the funds. I don't have the sponsorship. What do I do? What do you tell that kid?
Jeff, it is possible and it is doable. Knowing from where I came from and knowing where I am now, knowledge of our past is one of the most treasured possessions that we always possess. And the most important thing that I can always tell them is determination, commitment, confidence. And remember that there's something for you tomorrow. What happened yesterday we cannot undo. But tomorrow, there is something which can come along the way. Please, put yourself in the right way. If you think you want to become a driver or a co-driver, come to me. I'll give you the advice. We're always away somewhere where we can be able to come and maneuver. It's a bit of a cocaine at the moment in the motorsport here because the clubs have sort of disappeared. The clubs don't exist anymore. The local clubs which we had that particular time. But I know very well that there are some young kids out there who want to get onto the rallying. Look, for example, there's some 2 young boys that I saw the other day, and they're doing very well on the rallycross. On the rallycross, they're doing very well, and they can drive the cars. They know how to get it on how to straighten the corners, because, you know, it is who goes faster on the corners than what can happen. And that is so important. And I think the moment they see somebody black because they want to associate themselves with, they will always come over and get a sponsor. And the moment you get a sponsor, you just go for that and utilize that. You'll always get another sponsor coming in, because then you know how to package the whole thing and then you know how to move it around.
Patrick Njiru, so good to see you, my brother.
Asante
well
sana.
Done.
You know it's always a pleasure for me to be in your
Congratulations.
Thank you very
well
much.
Done.
Asante.
My guest today, what a hero. Kenya's real hero. He's done it all, and he has a passion for rallying, and he's giving advice to young ones out there who want to be the next Patrick Njiru, who want to be the next best thing in rallying. Do not get discouraged. Be confident. Pursue your dreams, because he did it. And as a poor boy growing up in Embu, he was able to attain his dream and even more. This is what it's all about, being a Kenyan hero, and there are many more out there just like Patrick Njiru. You have been watching Capital Talk only on the award-winning station K24, where we are all Kenyan all the time.